I was offended by the fact that he was asked by a voter, why is the government involved in women's basic rights? And he answered with saying, I think it's great. For 52 years, all the legal scholars, the best legal scholars, Democrats, Republicans, both of them, have wanted to get rid of it. And that's what I've done here. That is not at all how the legal scholars feel or how the American populace feels.
Token Fox News liberal Jessica Tarlov is spot on, as usual, throwing cold water on Donald Trump's insincere, patently false narratives used to justify stripping away healthcare autonomy from millions of women in our country.
The majority of Americans surveyed said the overturn of Roe v. Wade was mostly bad for the country.
According to a new CBS News poll, half of Americans say abortion access after Roe has been more restrictive than they expected. Of those who say the change was bad for the country, 86% think it puts women's lives at risk.
More voters said abortion is the one issue, an issue that could solely determine their vote and who they vote for in this election.
Women in every state where abortion is banned, it is dangerous to be pregnant.
As you can see, a year removed from the disastrous overturning of Roe v. Wade up to ballot initiatives in the presidential race during this election cycle, the American public has shown resounding support for allowing women to make their own health care decisions for themselves. Now, Tarlov will highlight one of the main factors holding Donald Trump back from victory.
But I don't think anyone walked away from that thinking that he had any sort of empathy for what's going on in women's lives all over the country.
And that right there is the crux of the Republican Party's position on reproductive rights, a wholesale lack of empathy for what women across this country are going through and may be forced to go through solely depending on where they live. So I think the Republican Party and their policy platform really lack empathy and understanding towards anyone outside the party's platform, because they don't give a dang about what other individuals are going through if it doesn't directly affect them. A lot of them are not good people. So of course they're not going to have empathy for what others go through if it doesn't affect them directly, and also if it can help boost their pockets and fatten their wallets. Of course they're going to do it. Of course you're going to have individuals who are in office, want to get abortions, or their significant others want to get them, and they'll be able to do that just fine because they have the money and the access. But then you're stripping all these other everyday Americans of those same rights. And so it's just a lot of heartless individuals in the Republican Party, and they have no ability, or they do not show the ability or the desire to actually appreciate or understand what others go through. They don't open their minds to that because it's about what they want and what they deem to be right.
It's getting a little exhausting to hear about Kamala's crisis with men constantly when Donald Trump's crisis with women is bigger.
He's doing the worst if this holds for a GOP candidate this century among white women. So when we're talking about 5-6 point shifts, 7-point shifts in Kamala Harris's direction, we're talking about that among a major part of the electorate, and that can actually move the overall electorate more than ginormous shifts among a considerably smaller part of the electorate. I think what we're talking about here is after Roe v. Wade was overturned in 2022, white women in the suburban areas, in these key battleground states, have very much turned against Republicans.
I felt embarrassed to call myself a Republican after the passage of the Dobbs decision. I ended up voting for Trump, and I regret it.
Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party's gains among white women voters since the end of the Trump administration and the overturning of Roe v. Wade cannot be understated. And this is what happens when you destroy a historically popular, established part of everyday life. The Republicans are suffering from their own success, and voters are feeling it as well.
Everybody's excited about her,
Right.
and that scares me, you know, because Trump has to reconfigure where he's going and how they're going to outsmart her.
This graph from the 2016 election shows that white women were the driving force behind Donald Trump's victory over Hillary Clinton. And if he doesn't capture that key demographic again, he could be in for a very, very rude awakening.
I have great respect for women. I have tremendous respect for women. These people come up maybe for a little fame, or maybe for some other reason, or maybe because they're part of the Clinton campaign. And I think a couple of them were involved somehow with the Clinton campaign. the one that I met on an airplane 30 or 35 years ago. I mean, nobody can believe that's a believable story. Listen to that story. In addition to that, there's even a witness. But, I mean, can anyone really believe that a thing like that took place? It's ridiculous.
Nobody has more respect for women than I do. Nobody. Nobody has more respect.
Please, everybody.
Democrats can really capitalize on this voter demographic shift for future elections, specifically this one, by going out into those communities and reaching them in a way that allows those individuals to see that, we actually matter to them. We don't matter to Donald Trump and the Republican Party. In the Democratic Party, our lives, our bodies are not up for sale, but we get to choose what we do with our bodies. With the Republicans, no, that's not it. Republicans say, no, we should have control over what a woman does with their body, what a woman does with their child, their unborn child. That is how they capitalize. You have to make that crystal clear, okay? And if you can do that and make this massive shift with white women, there's a good chance that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will win the election and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance will lose. It's really, really easy. Now, I thought it was easy for a lot of things back in the day, and that clearly was not the case. But with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, I hope that you will have a much more informed base when it comes to this demographic of voters. Then they will get their act together. For Rebel HQ, I'm Chris Williamson. We'll see you next time.